Hello and welcome to today's live English lesson here on the AM Language YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and like and share the video. In today's lesson, we are looking at film English, meaning and context with Pirates of the Caribbean. So we have plenty of good language to look at, as well as one or two. I don't know if I can do a Jack Sparrow impression, but yes, we will have a little look at Captain Jack Sparrow as well. I hope everyone has had a good week. Leondina, buono pomeriggio. Welcome to today's lesson. Thank you for joining. I hope you've had a good week. Irene F, hello, good afternoon. Welcome to today's lesson. Thank you for joining. Privyet. So, guys, don't forget, from next week, the live lessons will be at 4:30. 4:30. So, make sure you join me at 4:30 for these daily live lessons. So let me know in the live chat, actually, if you like Pirates of the Caribbean. It doesn't matter if you have seen it or not, or if you don't know it, if you don't know the film. But there's some very good language to look at in Pirates of the Caribbean. Good afternoon, Richard, Leondina, and Irina, says Francesca. Good afternoon, Francesca. Thank you for joining. For me, I've always thought that Pirates of the Caribbean, all of them are entertaining and enjoyable to watch, but a lot of it depends on Johnny Depp and his character, Captain Jack Sparrow. Without Captain Jack Sparrow, without Johnny Depp, I don't think Pirates of the Caribbean is really going to be as interesting as... I don't think would be as interesting. My favorite Pirates of the Caribbean movie, because there's been a few, would probably be the first one. I think the first one is the best one. All the others are, well, they're entertaining to watch, but yeah. Leondina says, I saw the movie and I found it amusing. Yeah, it is amusing. Again, I think that's mainly because of Johnny Depp's Jack Sparrow. If I'm not mistaken, I think he based the character Captain Jack Sparrow and his behavior off the lead guitarist for the Rolling Stones, named Richard. Keith Richards? I think that's his name. I heard something like that. Evelina, good afternoon. Buono pomeriggio. Welcome to today's lesson. Thank you for joining. So in today's lesson, we are going to look at meaning and context. So we'll have a little look at the language here in terms of what we're going to look at. The way this will work is I'm going to share a quote with you. I'll give a little bit of a background of the context, and then we'll have a little look to see what is the meaning behind the quote. So, number one, first one. Of course, it's just a little bit too long for YouTube, so we're going to have to break it up. Okay, so the first quote is, I'm dishonest, and a dishonest man you can always trust to be dishonest. Honestly, it's the honest ones you want to watch out for. Hello, Sandra. Good afternoon. Guten Tag. Because you can never predict when they're going to do something incredibly stupid. Sandra says hello, by the way. Hello, Sandra. Good afternoon. Welcome to today's lesson. So, important language that we need to know, okay? We've got, just to make sure we all know what this language is, so we've got words like dishonest, honest, and watch out for. Okay, so Let's just make sure we all know what these words mean. So link these words to their correct meanings. Okay, A, someone who doesn't tell the truth. B, some what is it? Form. And C, truthful. Okay, so you've got dishonest, honest, and watch out for. Possible meanings: someone who doesn't tell the truth, to be aware of or to look out for something, and someone who is truthful. So feel free, try and link dishonest, honest, and watch out for to the three definitions over here. And Leondina, thank you very much. Those are the correct answers. If I was expecting everyone to know this straight away, though. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I knew. I didn't expect these words necessarily to be new. But yes, A is dishonest, B is watch out for, and C is honest. In Italian, I think watch out would be attenzione, something like that. I think attenzione. So the next thing is what's the context here? The context here is that Captain Jack Sparrow is talking to Will Turner, who is played by Orlando Bloom, and is not to worry, Sandra, absolutely fine. So Jack Sparrow is talking to Orlando Bloom's character William Turner, and William Turner is trying to make sure that Jack Sparrow knows that he's an honest person and that he is that he's someone who follows the law. Captain Jack Sparrow is trying to give him a bit of life advice, according to Captain Jack Sparrow. So he ends up with, I'm dishonest, and dishonest man you can always trust to be dishonest. Honestly, it's the honest ones you want to watch out for, because you can never predict when they're going to do something incredibly stupid. So, what does Captain Jack Sparrow mean here? That's the question. So let's have a little look. What is the correct meaning? E. C. Okay, so which one do you think over here best describes the meaning and the context of this? So you've got Captain Jack Sparrow saying, I'm dishonest, and a dishonest man you can always trust to be dishonest. Honestly, it's the honest ones you want to watch out for, because you can never predict when they're going to do something incredibly stupid. That was my attempt at Captain Jack Sparrow accent, voice. But what does this mean? Does it mean that the person you can trust is the dishonest person because you can trust the fact he will be dishonest? B, a dishonest person is reliable, or C, a truthful person can't be trusted to do the sensible thing. I'm going to throw in this one, D, none of them. If you go for none of them, please tell me what you think this means. This is the meaning according to Captain Jack Sparrow, okay? And it's very important that we bear this in mind. It's coming from a person like Captain Jack Sparrow. So, what do you guys think about this? A dishonest person is reliable. A truthful person can't be trusted to do the sensible thing. None of them. Or A, the person you can trust is the dishonest person because you can trust the fact he will be dishonest. Leondina says A. Okay, if you agree with Leondina, come in with your answers as well. Just let me know that you agree with Leondina. If you think it's something else, maybe you disagree. Maybe you think it's actually option D and it's none of them. Maybe you would like to, maybe you think you can come up with a better, something a bit more accurate in terms of what Captain Jack Sparrow might be talking about here. While we're waiting for answers, I do like the soundtrack to Pirates of the Caribbean. I think the conductor is Hans Zimmer, but it is a good soundtrack. Da 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 da. I don't think it sounds like anything like that, but never mind. And Sandra says agree. Yeah, I would agree as well. I think the answer here is A. Francesca, okay, so you've gone for D. Let me know what you would say for D. Let me know what you think. Okay, I mean, I would say out of the options here, it's probably going to be A. It doesn't mean this is correct, of course. I mean, a person you can trust is the dishonest person because you can trust the fact he will be dishonest. It's an interesting one because you can always say, yes, I trust that he is going to be dishonest. It's a bit of it's what we would call an oxymoron, really. Two things that don't that are opposites that go together. I mean, I suppose it's a bit, you could use it with politicians. Like you can always trust, you can always trust your politicians to be dishonest at some point. Or, for example, you can always trust the media to put a spin on something. It's kind of a strange one. It's the fact that their habit is predictable. It doesn't mean you know what they're going to do. You just know that you can't. In fact, you cannot rely on them. Okay. But anyway, feel free to come in later on if you can think of any other things. Let's look at the next one. This is actually, I've got some opinions about this one, this quote. So, number 2. Problem is not the problem. The problem is your attitude about the problem. Do you understand? Captain Jack Sparrow. Here he is fighting with William Turner, and William Turner's love life comes into question. He comes up with excuses, and Jack Sparrow says, the problem is not the problem. The problem is your attitude about the problem. Do you understand? The question that I have for you, okay, is this. A. I mean, I would say that's what we would call self-explanatory. Now, I'll just explain to you what I mean by that. Okay, self-explanatory. Self-explanatory is when something doesn't require an explanation because it explains itself. Okay, something doesn't need an explanation because it explains itself. So I feel that this is very much self-explanatory. I think it explains itself. However, I do want to make sure that we all understand it. So, A, what is the meaning? A. B. And C. Attitude are problems. So which one? Now, like I said, I feel that this is self-explanatory. However, I want to make sure that we do all understand it. So, A, the problem is the problem. B, the problem is Will Turner's attitude, not the problem. C, both the problem and Will Turner's attitude are problems. So this is of two. The problem is not the problem. The problem is your attitude about the problem. Do you understand? Sandra says B. If you agree with Sandra, please let me know. And I'm then going to ask you a follow-up question on this because I think there might be some truth to this. I'll give you guys, yep, B, B, B. Francesca says A, the problem is the problem. Or B, the problem is Will Turner's attitude, not the problem. So, okay, so we're a bit divided between A and B, but the actual answer here is B. Okay, so as we can see, the first line, the problem is not the problem. So that automatically tells us that it can't be A. The problem is your attitude about the problem. So this second sentence tells us that the answer is B. The problem is Will Turner's attitude, not the problem. So the next thing I'm going to ask is this. When people are faced with a problem at work, how often is the main problem the problem itself? So, when people are faced with a problem at work, how often is the main problem the problem itself? And is it the how often is it the person's attitude towards the problem? So, I'll say this again. So, when people are faced with a problem at work, how often is the main oh, what did I write? No, Richard, that doesn't make sense. Read before pressing enter. When people are faced with a problem at work, how often is the main problem the problem itself? And how often is it and how often is it the person's attitude towards the problem? And how often is it the person's attitudes towards the problem? Okay, there we go. I finally got it. So general question, let me know, guys. When people are faced with a problem at work, how often is the main problem the problem itself? And how often is the person's attitude towards the problem? The main problem, actually, I should say. Maybe I'm getting a little bit, you know what? Sod that. Do you agree with Jack Sparrow's quote? How often is this the case, meaning true? There we go. I think that's a much better way. I think I was making it complicated earlier. So don't forget. So Jack Sparrow's statement is the problem is not the problem. The problem is your attitude about the problem. So do you agree with Jack Sparrow? Sparrow's quote. How often is this the case? So how often is this true? How often is it true that the problem is not the actual problem, but our attitude towards the problem. I think for me, in my experience in the workplace, for example, or in life, I think most of the time, the biggest problem is the attitude towards the problem. Francesca says that she agrees. And I agree as well. I think this is interesting here. We're talking about Jack Sparrow, who's not a very honest person, but he is right about this. And Evelina agrees as well. I think this is very true. It's like learning a language. You can say to yourself, the problem is, let's say, the language point. It's really difficult. Okay, maybe it is very difficult, and maybe the paper that you are doing is difficult, but the bigger problem might be your attitude as well. And now that doesn't just it's not just applied to learning a language. It could be doing a course, it could be a problem at work. Who knows? Leondina says, I believe that the most of the time our attitude to face with the problem is more serious than the problem itself. Well done, Leondina. Really, really close. I'm just going to make one or two changes to what you've written, because you nearly got that right. I'm going to say about 80% there. So I believe that most of the time our attitude towards the problem is more serious than the problem itself. Okay, so this is what you want to go with. I believe that most of the time our attitude towards the problem is more serious than the problem itself. So that's how we would write it if we want to get it absolutely correct. You might ask, Richard, but I thought I needed the before most. And if you're going to use a superlative, like the most expensive, then yes, because you're using a superlative. But if you're going to use most of the time, you don't need the article the. So no article when you use most of the time. Okay? So if you're going to use most of the time, you don't need an article. If you're going with a superlative, then yes, you do need the article the. But nicely done. Okay, let's see the next one. This one is a good one. This is a good one. Let me share this one. Number 3. The code is more what you'd call guidelines than actual rules. Okay, let's make sure that we understand the difference between some of this language. Okay, you've got code, guidelines, and rules. Link these to their correct definitions, A, or synonyms for that matter. B, and And C, an unwritten or written law of behavior amongst a group of people. A, general rule of thumb. B, the law you follow. C, an unwritten or written law of behavior amongst a group of people. Which ones go with which? Hector Barbosa. So the context here is, I think he's talking to Jack Sparrow. I can't remember actually the wider context here. Okay, so Francesca's gone with B, but you'll need to tell me B with what. So does B go with, don't forget guys, you've got 3 words and 3 definitions. They don't all mean the same thing. So you might tell me that guidelines go with B. You might tell me that actual rules go with A, and you might tell me that code goes with C, for example. So Sandra has said C is code. Leodina has said A is guidelines, B is actual rules, and C is code. I'll give people a little bit more time to come in with their thoughts. Maybe you agree, maybe you don't. Francesca thinks B might be the code, the law you follow. Okay, so I'll tell you what the answers are. So A, yes, guidelines. And rule of thumb is a synonym for guidelines. Okay. B. Okay, in this context, I was actually going with actual rules. Having said that, if you've gone for the law, okay, if you've gone for code, I can understand. You're not necessarily wrong. It's just that in this context, it was going to be rules, which means C is code. You'd call it like a code of honor, for example, in on a well, that's how you spelt it. What am I getting wrong? Is it 2 N's? Ah, it's the U, that's why. Yes, in the military, you would call it like a code of honor. It could be written or unwritten. But guidelines is a good option for rule of thumb as well. So let's consider this. Here's a okay. Here's a question for you guys. When you share a house with people, when you share a house or a flat with a group of people, do you make guidelines or a set of rules that you are going to follow? Guidelines. There we go. Okay, so what is happening here? That's why I was forgetting the E. It's just quite an interesting question. I'll be intrigued to see what your answers are here. So when you share a house or a flat with a group of people, do you make guidelines or a set of rules that you are going to follow? So think about like what you would agree on certain things with people when you live with them, be it, filling the fridge with food, buying cleaning material, cleaning the flat, cleaning the kitchen, cleaning the bathroom, when you can make noise, when you can't make noise. Yeah, what do you think? Would you just create a set of, would you create guidelines, or would you create actual rules that you all agree to follow? You might not write it down. It might just be a verbal agreement that, okay, we are going to live with each other. Okay, we'll agree on this. We'll say we can do this, but we won't do this. When you're living with someone, are you, are these sort of rules going to be guidelines, or are they going to be actual rules that you're going to follow? In my experience, okay, let's see. Sandra says, yes, absolutely. I need guidelines for all people, how to live with them, or how for them to live with me. For people to live with me. Um, Sandra, is guidelines the right one, or would you prefer set rules? Don't forget, set rules is harder. That's fixed. Guidelines, you've got room, flexibility. Leondina says that she prefers to make guidelines instead of set rules. Okay, thank you very much for your contributions there. And let me know, Sandra, when you say guidelines, do you mean something that is flexible or something that's not flexible? Set rules, don't forget, is not flexible. Guidelines is flexible. That's the point. Guidelines are flexible. Ba, ba, ba. I don't flexible. Okay, if you say not flexible, you say in this case you wouldn't use don't. I'm not. You would say I'm not. You go with the verb, negative verb to be. So I'm not flexible. In which case that means you prefer set rules than guidelines. Okay, number 4. Sandra says, I live together with my 2 teenagers. We need set rules. With teenagers, yeah, you need rules. Don't go with guidelines with teenagers. Guidelines will the rule, any understanding you have will be out the window very quickly. So next one, 4. This is either madness or brilliance. It's remarkable how often those two traits coincide. So we've got some things over here. The 2 words I want to go with, traits and coincide. Okay, which is which as a definition? Okay, which is which? So I'll come up with the first one. Okay, 1 second. I'm going to use an actual dictionary definition here, because sometimes it's a little bit better to go with the dictionary ones. So, A. And B. So, you've got the word traits and you've got the word coincide. Which one goes with A? Which one goes with B? Occur at or during the same time. And B, a distinguishable. Distinguishable is noticeable. It's obvious. It's clear to see. Quality or characteristic, typically one belonging to a person. If you agree with Leondina, let me know. So she thinks A is coincide and B is traits. And then we can have a little discussion about this one. There is a saying in English. There's a thin line between. Sorry, I just needed to yawn suddenly. We have a saying in English. There's a thin line between genius and madness. I don't know if you have the same saying in English. Sorry, in your first language. I think some people thought that was the case with a few people. Certain artists, musicians, typically, some scientists. Okay, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, here are the answers. Okay, so what is the meaning? Meaning. So in this context, they're walking underwater. They can't breathe underwater. So they've used a boat that they've turned upside down that's created like an air pocket for them to breathe underwater. Of course, this is not how physics works, but it's amusing to see. So let's have a little look in this context. So the meaning in this context, A. It's the same in German. It's the same meaning in German, says Sandra. Okay, cool. Excellent. Glad to know. So, the meaning over here, just to remind ourselves, this is either really. Oh, wait a minute. So, the sentence is this is either madness or brilliance, says Will Turner. Jack Sparrow replies by saying, it's remarkable how often those two traits coincide. So, which one is the correct one? Sandra says C, this is clever and stupid at the same time. So A, this is either really stupid or amazingly clever. B, this is stupid in every way. And C, this is clever and stupid at the same time. Leondina has also said it is C. Okay, I can see why you're going for that. All of you are going for C. Francesca says B, this is stupid in every way. Okay, so the correct answer actually for this. Now, we've got the important words here. Okay, I'm just going to share this with you again. Now, if this said this is madness and brilliance, if it was this is both mad and brilliant, or this is madness and brilliance, then this would equal the meaning of C. But it doesn't say that. Over here, you've got important words, either and or. Because of either and or, the meaning for this one is actually going to be A. The answer to this one is A. This is either really stupid or amazingly clever. It came down to simple two words, which I didn't change, which is either and or. So that is why it's meaning A, because you've got either and or in there. If it was this is both mad and brilliant, or this is madness and brilliance, then that would be C, in which case you guys would be correct. This is stupid in every way. I would say, Francesca, there is, in terms of the film, yes, it is stupid in every way. I would say, but in this context, not quite. Not quite. Leondina says, I'm often confused about the use of either and or. And okay, you too as well. Okay, in which case I will need to make a note. And if I don't do it next week, please remind me. We need to have a lesson on either and or. How do we use them? When do we use them? And what do they mean? So I will try and fit that in next week. So guys, that brings us to the end of today's lesson. Thank you so much for watching. Sandra, Leondina, Francesca, Evelina, Irina F, thank you very much for your participation in today's lesson and commenting in the live chat. Much appreciated. Everyone else watching, thank you. And as always, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like and share the video. Don't forget, next week will be at 4:30 p.m. in the afternoon next week. Make sure you join me for these daily live lessons. Evelina says, take care. Thank you very much. Yes, take care, everybody. And thank you very much. We've grown our audience to 480 now. Not 480, sorry, 780. We're now into the last 20. Let's see if this month, entering into May, I want to see if we can get, we need to get past the 800 mark in May. That's really important. And then from there, we can push on towards 1,000. Have a lovely weekend. Leondina says, thank you, Richard. Have a nice weekend and see you next week at 4:30. Thank you very much, Leondina. Okay, guys, take care. Have a great weekend and bye for now. You're welcome, Marina F. Thank you.